If you love boxing, you're gonna love this.
Hello and welcome to episode 14 of the BoxNation podcast. I'm your host Dev Sahni, and today I am bereft of my BoxNation bestie. The one and only Steve Lillis is otherwise engaged this week, but fear not, listeners, because stepping in today is the former WBO super featherweight champion of the world, currently sat here on his phone. It's Barry Jones. How are you, Barry?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thanks very much. Yep, I'm good. Yeah, I had a phone call off Steve Lillis. He just said as much as he loves the train journey down, he can't spend a second more with you. He said, I don't see it myself. I think I wouldn't say a nice guy, but bearable.
Describe me in one
I wouldn't
word.
say I wouldn't say bearable. But anyway, you're alive.
Always good to see you, Barry. So this week's podcast is unmissable, not just because Barry Jones is here and clearly in fine form. There's so much to discuss from this weekend's action in the boxing world. King Kong was KO'd in New York, the Russian Krusher crushed again, and it looks like he's on a collision course with a new Russian beast. We hear from Carl Frampton, we catch up with Martin Bowers, the trainer of the potential future heavyweight king Daniel Dubois, and we look ahead to this weekend's boxing. There's so much more to come, just keep listening. Well, our review has to begin in New York, and it begins with the WBC World Heavyweight Champion Deontay Wilder getting the knockout win over the previously undefeated and much avoided Cuban Luis King Kong Ortiz. The 32-year-old Wilder floored the Cuban twice before knocking him out in the 10th round. After the biggest win of his career, the self-proclaimed baddest man on the planet had a lot to say for himself at the post-fight press conference.
But tonight was a magical night. I knew I was in for a fight. Luis Ortiz is the most technical fighter in the division. We already knew that with the Cuban background. And, when guys come and fight me, we know they're going to bring their best. We know they do things that we never seen them do. Look at this man. He was running. He was doing things that we never seen him do. But when you finna fight the king of the division, you better get yourself prepared. You better get yourself mentally ready, because I got a heart of a lion, man. And that's just what it is. I tell people all the time, I'd rather be the part than look the part. And I showed that tonight. It's not about weight. It's not how big a person is. It's not about all of different things that people get so wrapped up in their mind about boxing. Boxing is a beautiful sport. It's a sweet science to this. And it's all about who got the bigger heart. And tonight I showed I had the bigger heart. And I solidified myself at the top as the baddest man on the planet. My mission is to unify the division. As you can see, I'm not afraid to risk myself for small rewards with bigger risk, because I want to prove to the world that I am the best. That's my ultimate goal, to prove to the world I am the best. People got this thing so wrapped up. They done got so wrapped up into who making the most money, who got the most followers, who doing this. And, it ain't about that to me. It's about me proving who's the best. My first job was working at Burger King. And the thing about it, although it was a low-paying job, but I made sure I was the best worker there. Anything I do, I want to be the best at what I do. And I show it each and every time in the ring. So now I am 40-0 with 39 KOs. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Are you going to call out Anthony Joshua? Do you want him next?
How many times do I have to call him out? How many times? They hiding. His promoter don't want that fight. And after tonight, they definitely ain't going to want it. But it's going to be up to you guys. It's going to be up to the fans. I've done enough. I've spoken enough. I really don't even want to talk about the dude no more, because I've said all I had to say. And after tonight, I don't need to say no more. All I want to do is prove to the world that I am the best. I'm the baddest man on the planet. And, hey, whenever they ready, we'll be ready. They talking about calling him. How many times we got to call him? All you got to do is pick up the phone. Even before I fought Luis Ortiz, it wasn't nobody. There wasn't nobody calling our phone. His people came all the way to America, and I got my people on stage to be able to witness that. They came down here talking about other fighters. They don't want this fight. Eddie Hearn is, he having fun milking the cow, like I said. I heard one person made a comment and said, well, he can milk me. Well, I ain't in the business of being milked. I'm in the business of looking to see I want to see who's the best. You know, it's good to make money and stuff like that, but how long you gonna cheat the people out of their money? How long you gonna be able to just sit around and just fight these guys that ain't even worthy of it? It's like I gotta go through so much just to get a fight. They tell me I need to do this, I need to do that, but what do these other guys have to do? You know, I have to raise a profile. I have to, man. So y'all know, y'all done heard this stuff. But what about these other guys? What do these other guys have to do? Why is it only me? People may look at me and think about and see other things on the outside, but these fighters know when they get in the ring, it's gonna be a fight.
Your biggest win, obviously, was tonight against Ortiz by knockout. He's got the big win against Vladimir Klitschko that stands above all of his other victories. Which do you think is the bigger win to the public? You knocking out King Kong or him knocking out a big name like Vladimir Klitschko?
I think me knocking out King Kong. You know, King Kong is undefeated. Vladimir was, you know, he'd been beat many times, and when he fought Joshua, he was already beaten. He wasn't a king. He was already dethroned. You know, we know that. He was coming off almost a 2-year layoff, you know, and really Joshua didn't win that fight. You know, Vladimir lost. You know, he lost that fight. He had 3 opportunities to get that guy out of there. But, you know, he made the wrong decisions at the wrong time, and it cost him, you know. But if you're looking at a guy, you're looking at the same fighter maybe a year or 2 years ago that knew how to finish a fighter, then we wouldn't even be talking about this. You know, they still on their high horse about that win. But how can you really be on your high horse when somebody else already dethroned them, you know? And we already know who did that in Tyson Fury. So, you know, they can celebrate that only for so long. And I feel that with Ortiz, he got the better skills. He's definitely motivated to prove himself in this division. That's why it took him so long to get world title. Nobody wanted to fight this guy. Everybody ducked this guy. No, you know, you got promoters signing this man just to keep him away from fighters. Now we see it. It's just, I mean, enough of the bullshit. I'm sorry about the language, but it's just, like I said, I don't have a filter. I'm the realest. You know, once I unify the division, they can have all their belts back. I just want to prove a point to myself and to the world that I am the best in the world.
Well, Barry Jones, much to discuss. Firstly, aside from yourself, is Deontay Wilder the baddest man on the planet?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Listen, I think if he hits, like, it's all boils down to who wins under him and Joshua. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
We expect Joshua. It's a test against Parker, but you expect him to beat Parker, and then you want them two to match up against each other. And I would favour Joshua every time because I always favour the guy who keeps his shape and has better boxing technique. And he can punch, and he can get off the floor. But Wilder can really punch, and he's erratic and he's wild. And I think, you know, from the range he punches from, he's dangerous. He doesn't get too close. But what I do like for Joshua's case is the fact that he punches when he's in trouble, and Deontay Wilder hurts you and then piles on the pressure like a maniac,
like a lunatic. Yeah.
But it's terrifying, I imagine, for the opponent who's hurt, but it's technically flawed because you're just swinging and you're wide open and you're squaring your feet and you're too close to the target, all those mistakes you make.
Yeah.
But the power disguises that. I say this all the time about punchers, especially when they're coming up the ranks. Their power they get away with loads of stuff. Technically, deficiencies they get away with until they get to a higher level because their power's got them through. And then when their power does not work at the higher level, sometimes they get exposed because they haven't learned the trade. They haven't learned the proper techniques, with people like me who couldn't punch, you've had to learn that just to survive. And they've survived on their raw strength and power, and that's what he's doing. And he's a world champion doing it, so he's obviously effective. But I think
40-0.
Yeah, of course it works for him. Why change a winning formula? I can understand that. But the fact that Joshua fires under pressure, you know, I think that he could catch him if he got hurt. I think he could still be dangerous.
And on some of that technique that you mentioned, he's very wild. We've seen it actually over here before when he fought Audley Harrison, and he was windmills. But Luis Ortiz has been coming out on Twitter and saying things about punches to the back of the head. Did you see much of that on the night?
Yeah, of course, yeah. That's good. Well, you know, because you're ducking for cover and he's still swinging, so they do hit in the back of the head. That happens. I don't think it's intentional. And it's the referee's job who didn't do a great job. I gotta be honest. It's the referee's job to see that, but also in the heat of a battle, some punches get get by the referee, and that's understandable.
Yeah.
So enough punches hit the target clean. I think for Luis Ortiz, the problem he had was he's a good boxer. He was doing extremely well, to be honest. But you don't deserve a medal for outboxing Deontay Wilder.
No,
I don't want to play it down, but also at the same time, even though he's a heavy-handed puncher, Ortiz, he doesn't have that snap. And I think we sort of seen. I thought Wilder is suspect around the whiskers. And I still sort of suspect that even though he took some really big shots and took them very well.
7th round he was rocked, wasn't he? It looked like it.
He done well, but they were heavy shots. There was no real acceleration of speed in his punches. And I think people who can punch that way with speed and power, I think he struggles. You can't see him coming. The other punch, you sort of seen him, but because they're just heavy shots. He's a tough guy, Wilder, a real tough man. That's why he dug in deep. But I still think if someone punched him with speed and accuracy, then I still think he might be in trouble.
Yeah, and one thing that he mentioned there, and this has sparked somewhat of a debate across social media, is his win over Luis Ortiz better than Anthony Joshua's win over Vladimir Klitschko?
No, of course not, because Ortiz, although undefeated, was untested. So there was still a question mark. This was Ortiz's biggest fight, and that was Deontay Wilder's biggest fight. No, that was Joshua's biggest fight, but maybe not, and probably not Klitschko's biggest fight. And I know he got over Klitschko at the end of his career, but it was one of his finest performances, and it was a much better spectacle to watch. I don't think Saturday night was a great fight to watch.
No.
No, I don't think it was. And it wasn't a bad fight to watch for sure. And the bits that were exciting were really exciting. But for the most part, I think Wilder was just pouring with the jab and looked really untidy. And Ortiz was rightly so, not overcommitting with his attacks and just picking them sparingly and picking up the points and winning the round. So I don't think it was nowhere near as good as.
Started very slow, didn't it?
Well, it paled in significance to, in excitement-wise, to Klitschko and Joshua, which was one of the best heavyweight fights we've seen for a very, very long time, maybe since the 90s, when there was when you got Holyfield boxing, Riddick Bowe and people like that, Mora, they were good fights to watch.
And tell me this, Barry. So, what of Luis Ortiz now? I mean, the warning signs of King Kong going to New York have been there since the 1930s. You would think he would know better, but what does he do now?
I think he comes away with a lot of credit because he might again though because he's not a ticket seller as such. He might be avoided again because he was winning the fight. Let's be honest. I know he wasn't on the judges' scorecard. I think he wasn't.
Yeah, which was strange.
And it was maybe a little bit closer than maybe what people think if you look back and actually scored it round by round. Sometimes watching a fight in its entirety, you have an idea who's winning, but when you have to score round by round, your score can be sometimes vastly different to what your opinion might be of the fight, if that makes any sense at all. So, but I still think that he's got a future. I don't think he beats Joshua. I don't think he beats Wilder again, as we see. I think, boxing, I think Wilder will always catch him. I think because I don't think he's fast enough with his feet. But he can still be a test for all the others. I think he's a test, but the problem is he might be too much of a test.
Well, what's coming out of the Wilder camp at the moment is they seem adamant that Joshua doesn't want to face Wilder in any rush. What do you make of that? Is there a delay coming from the Joshua and Hearn side of things?
Well, first of all, you would think they said about milking the cow.
Yeah.
He mentioned that, didn't he, about Eddie Hearn with Joshua, and they'd be right to milk the cow because he's a money-making machine. And if I was his manager or promoter, I would feed him featherweights for the rest of his career, and just cash in because he sells out arenas whoever he fights, and that's the way he is. He's one of those new modern superstars. But they have boxed dangerous guys. I know when they won the world title against Charles Martin, it wasn't very good. But Dillian White, in retrospect, was a better fight than what maybe he looked at the time. I think Dillian White is looking for world honours. He didn't care about going up against Klitschko. He's happy to fight Parker now. He's trying to unify the titles. You can't fault that.
Well, I would understand why, if there was a reluctance on the AJ side, as you said about milking the cow. The Parker fight, it's a unification, and it seems like they're almost a foregone conclusion. The way that the AJ team are planning fights in advance, they're talking about other opponents. Gerald Miller was one that was mentioned. Whereas the Wilder fight seems like, hold on, we could actually definitely lose this fight because he could land. Doesn't seem that risk with other opponents.
I do understand that, but I think I think that for me, I don't know. From outside looking in, the Miller fight looks like, because obviously Matchroom are starting to promote in the States. They got Danny Jacobs and Big Baby Miller. Seems a great opponent for Anthony to go over to America. Credible opponent for a defense. Not every defense has to be a 50-50 fight. No, you have a unification. You should have a mandatory or a unification, and then a voluntary if someone in the top 10, 12 in the world. I think that's how it always should be. Well, not every fight should be a hardest fight and then a harder test the next fight. Otherwise, careers would be 3 years.
Well, that's the world we live in, though. In terms of that used to be fine. What you were saying there. Not every fight has to be a hard fight, but when you've got Twitter and you've got the fans just on them, you could announce right now. You could announce Joshua versus, I don't know, Pulev. And that's a decent fight. Yeah. But people would be screaming. They're saying, why aren't you fighting Wilder now?
They will, but I think the way Joshua's at that level now, that people will moan and groan, but watch it anyway.
Yeah.
And true. I think he knows that. He's just training and fighting. He don't care. He's fighting. He's making money wherever he boxes.
Sure.
And he'll knock Wilder out. And I'm sure Eddie Hearn is confident that Joshua will beat Wilder. You'd have to be. Lewis is a dangerous opponent. I don't think it's too much of doing their best to avoid him. They want to maximise their outcome, and Wilder will get his biggest purse by millions. Let's be honest. I don't know if he's earned millions yet. I think he had $2 billion for that fight, but Joshua's getting £15 million for his fights, and so it's a vast difference. So I think Joshua is in total control.
Well, finally on that, Deontay Wilder came to the ring with Lil' Kim singing, rapping. You know, doing all that. I'm sure you're a huge fan of that and her work, Barry.
Stop listening, to be honest.
Not a fan.
Well, I don't know. What's the?
Did you ever come out with anyone?
What?
Did you ever have someone rapping or singing? Like when
let me say what happened to me. Now.
Tom Jones.
No, when I look back, I wish I would. No, I used to be Cardiff City Colours. I wish I would have come out the Men of Harlech, which is a song. It was a great song that Cardiff City play, and I should have done that. But what I used to do is this: the TV people would come in and they go the floor manager, and they go 5 minutes. So someone come in and go, you got your ring music. And I go, just play whatever you want.
Really?
Play something Welsh. Play a Welsh band. So I'd have Stereophonics or Manic Street Preachers. No, I love the Manic Street Preachers, more personally, and their music. So just play them. I didn't care, because I got bigger things to worry about.
Yeah. Okay.
But obviously that's no good for a promoter. He thinks, this kid, you don't give a crap about anything. I just cared about fighting. I wasn't good enough to worry about those things on the outside. I wasn't Naz. It wasn't about the image. I didn't care. I was never going to earn millions, so I didn't care about all that rubbish. And so no, I never did any of that crap. And I'm not a lover of it. I don't hate it like I used to, but I'm not a lover of it.
Well, okay.
It's just trimmings, and it's the way the sport is now. It's all, some kids now are so et up on trying to look good rather than just be good.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
They're having their chest waxed, which still freaks me out to this day. It does freak me out. And they're having their chest waxed and their hair dyed and their eyebrows plucked and their best shorts and all the brand new boots. I had one pair of shorts up until I boxed for the title, and then I started having new shorts. That's a true story. No, so I had another pair of shorts because the waistband broke and I had to buy extra large shorts. I bought extra large Newcastle colour shorts for one fight.
Did you really?
They were down to my ankles. Because the shorts I used to have, the elastic broke.
Oh,
so
very.
So I just put them away, and I wouldn't grab them, so I wouldn't grab them out of the bag till the next fight. I had the same pair of boots my whole career.
Yeah.
Because why do I need?
Your feet aren't going to grow, are they?
I use my boots more than most people because I was a runner, but you use them for 36 minutes maximum. Listen, they don't no wear and tear in your boxing boots. But everyone's worried about that. Just be good.
Well, Deontay Wilder wasn't the only heavy hitter in action in New York at the weekend. Over in Madison Square Garden, there was a Russian light heavyweight invasion. WBO champion Sergey Kovalev stopped countryman Igor Mikhalkin over 7 rounds. The chief support bout saw the WBA champion Dmitry Bivol break down and knock out his best opponent yet in wily Cuban Sullivan Barrera. Let's start with Kovalev, who spoke with Max Kellerman just after his 32nd career win and 28th knockout.
So now you've faced 2 different styles. You won both fights impressively. Are you ready for another big fight now?
I'm always ready, but I think so. Not with Southpaw. But next fight with Southpaw will be much better than this one. I believe. Fight to fight must get better.
Dmitry Bivol's not a Southpaw, but he fought tonight, and he said he feels he has room for improvement. But as a champion, he needs to fight anybody. Is that a fight you're interested in, or do you see Bivol as eventually a bigger money fight down the line?
If it's big money fight, yes, I'm ready.
If it's a big money fight, you're ready anytime.
Not like we can still punch each other, anybody, you know, and to go up to big fight.
Spoken like a true prize fighter, you want the biggest money fight always, right away. Who is that opponent right now? I know. I read on the internet, you know, like some Battle Jack like wants to fight it. It was a money fight. Let's do it, fight Battle Jack. Like, if he beats Stevenson.
Yeah, he beats Stevenson.
Andre Ward mentioned Kovalev 3 on our previous broadcast, kind of teasing the boxing world. Do you believe that's genuine? And would you be interested in a third Ward fight ever?
I don't think about this right now, you know, like if this will be called for me, I'm ready. Always, Max, just I'm boxing for myself and for the boxing fans. Boxing fans like boxing, and therefore they came to support me. Thank you very much for your support, boxing fans. I love you, and I'm ready to fight for you, for myself. Like, I love boxing.
Well, Barry, you were in the studio for the light heavyweight action at the weekend. And firstly, what did you think of Kovalev?
It was good. I think the guy who boxed was not a big name and not a big big draw, to be honest. So everyone expected Kovalev to just blast him out there. I did watch the fella, and I thought Kovalev would make an easier job than he did. But he was tough and durable, and I think it was high quality. I think Kovalev broke him down, and I think Kovalev's jab is massively underrated. It sets everything up. Really does. He's a massively underrated boxer, and I think that's why Andre Ward couldn't dominate him. You know, he beat him twice.
Yeah.
Couldn't dominate him because
first fight especially.
Yeah, because I think it's more than just the power with Kovalev. Yeah, it's more to his arsenal, and I think he was good. I thought he was very good. I thought it was high quality work.
Is he the best light heavyweight in the world?
Yeah, I think he has to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think he got his track record, and he's still top of the tree, and I think he's still got a few years left. But there are a few good fighters around there, and we've seen another one on well, I don't know if they were chief support on the undercard of his, and Bivol himself. I think Bivol and Barrera, it was a good scrap.
Well, we'll come to Bivol, but firstly, I just want to quiz you on something Kovalev mentioned in the post-fight interview. He mentioned the name of Badu Jack. Does that get you excited, Barry Jones?
Yeah, it does. It does. I think Badu Jack's not a sort of guy who's exciting to watch, but he'll match his opponent's work rate, and I don't think he's a big, strong guy, as we've seen obviously with the Gale tear up. But Kovalev's different than the Gale. He hasn't got the silky skills, though he has got skills, but not the same. But he'll stand in front of you or bang away at you. And I think Jack's resilient and tough, and he showed that against Groves as well, who can bang. But it's a hard ask. Listen, it's all irrelevant because Jack's got to get through Stevenson first.
He has.
But you would fancy it right now, to be honest, because Stevenson's 75 years old and hasn't boxed for 25 years. So he's held that WBC title for ransom more than any fight I've ever known in the history of the sport.
He really has. I joked last week when Steve Lillis mentioned him as one of the best light heavyweights out there. I said, is he still a boxer? But apparently so, and he's fighting Badu Jack. But on the Badu Jack Kovalev potential fight, you feel as though if it was something that was made pre-Kovalev fighting Ward, you just fancy Kovalev straight away. Well, obviously Kovalev will walk through him, but right now it's a good time for it.
It is. I still think Kovalev. I don't think there's any question of Kovalev though. I know someone gets beat, you go, but listen, if you do this to him, you know, like Walters against Lomachenko.
Yeah.
I said after that fight, I said you'd have to be tough to beat Walters and good still to beat him, but any real tough guy now would just put pressure on him because he's shown he has a point to quit.
He'll wilt.
You've shown it, You've shown you quit, and so you see a weakness there. With Kovalev, I still think he got beat by Ward's a genius. Technically one of the best fighters in the last 20 odd years, so there's no shame in that, and they were close fights. And the last one disputed for sure the way he went down, but either way. So I still favour him against Badu Jack. I favour him against all the champions, to be honest. I think Stevenson, even more so. I think he makes light work of Stevenson. If Stevenson would have beat Jack, because he can punch Stevenson, he's erratic.
Yeah.
I think Kovalev walks right through him. And
what about Bivol? Does beating Sullivan Barrera prove that he's real?
Yeah, it does, because I think it was his first real test, I think, to be honest. And he came through with flying colours. I think the quality of his work was superb. And you sometimes see punchers who are frustrated and don't get the work done, and then they start to unravel as the fight. I don't mean fall apart and get beat, but they become untidy and they panic. He never.
Yeah, that massive on his head as well, the swelling.
Because he never complained about it. You forgot it was there.
Yeah. Until you saw it at certain angles at the end, you were, whoa.
Yeah, but until you mentioned it, I forgot it was there.
Yeah.
No, and I was there and I was watching it all night. So I think he was really good. And because Pereira's a tough guy who's strong and world class, let's be honest. And I think he handled him fine. And you know, I thought he was going to go for points. I think in the studio, Steve Bunce thought he was going to go an earlier finish. You know, he got the stoppage in the end. You can't fault that because he just kept his shape. And I think he's technically very, very good. Still a little bit green, I think, and he's world champion now. But I mean, compared to Kovalev, I think he's a little bit green. So I would still fancy Kovalev. But listen, if they can keep Bivol away from him for like 3-4 fights.
Do you think that's the plan? Keep him away, and then
I think the plan is to match him. I think the plan is to match him quick because you want to. I think the most marketable now is still Kovalev. So if you were Kathy Duva, you would want to match him quick as you can. Get him now. Just like Mayweather did with Alvarez, get him now before he gets any better.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Get him early. Get him. He's a champion, so you know there's no you can't. See all these people when people say, "Oh, he's a world champion, but he's still learning." That's true. Yeah. But you're a world champion, so you shouldn't be afforded the opportunities to duck everyone or to avoid everyone just because you're a world champion now. So you have your mandatory and your voluntaries, and you know everyone picks the fights, but ultimately. You can't say, "Oh, I'm not ready for him." If you're a world champion, you should be ready for everyone at your weight.
I think you're absolutely right, and that sort of of course you're always right, Barry.
What's going on, Andrew? What's going on with this fella here? Andrew, get someone else in.
That's our producer Andrew there, who's being called in to get someone else to replace me. Thanks, Barry Jones. But yeah, that's exactly what you were saying there. Similar to Gervonta Davis, who become the youngest world champion, or one of them in boxing. I think it emerged after he wasn't actually the youngest world champion. And there were calls for him to, all right, so you're world champion.
Was he the youngest current world champion?
Current, yeah. At the time it was, yeah. Not in history. No. But there were calls for him from some people to, all right, so you're world champ, go and fight Lomachenko then. See if you want to unify. And they were like, well, he's, Lomachenko's older, he's in a rush. We're in no rush with Gervonta. Don't have the world title then. And that's kind of...
Listen, you can avoid people for bigger fights and bigger money and hang on, let's wait up for this fight and I got this to do that. You make excuses. You can't say I'm not ready for a world champion, and that's just. And even if you might not be ready, and he wasn't ready. But you're world champion. You wanted to get there early, and you've done it. Congratulations. This is your rewards, and these are also the downfalls that everyone now is a potential challenger that you should really be able to accept.
Absolutely. And one of my favourite things about Bivol, back to Bivol there, on his gum shield it said Bivol. Did you notice that?
I don't notice things like this.
I love that. Did you ever? What did it say on your gum? Did it say Barry on yours? Did you ever?
No.
If you could go back now, would you have a gum shield that said Barry on it?
No. I never had nothing written on it. Or no. Again, it's all that marketing yourself and
yeah. I mean, Kovalev's got it as well. It doesn't say Bivol on Kovalev's; it says Krusher. But big fan of all that. But now it was mentioned in Kovalev's post-fight interview that Andre Ward has in recent weeks been teasing a return to the ring. Now, whether there's any substance in that remains to be seen. But in the build-up to the Kovalev and Bivol double-header, the former light heavyweight king Ward was on punditry duties for HBO and sat down with Dimitri Bivol to produce a fantastic short film. We can bring you some of that fascinating film right now as Andre Ward interviewed Dimitri Bivol.
The casual boxing fans and then the hardcore boxing fans, they don't know all the sacrifice, man, that goes into this. You have a family. Yeah. You can't be with them every day and be dad, the way you want to when you're in training camp. You're preparing for war. Like, explain what type of sacrifice you've been going through just to prepare for this fight.
Oh, every day I'm crying about my babies. I have 2 baby sons, and I can't see how they grow up, and it's make hurt me. But I know if I will be winner, it will be good for them.
Change their life.
Yeah, change their life, and change the life. Me, my parents, my babies, my wife, all my family. And my family makes me more serious in the ring.
Absolutely. And that's amazing, man. In our sport, we don't always have good examples. We have guys who fight too long. Sometimes they slur, they have neurological issues, and in some cases, they don't have their money when they're done. You seem like an extremely thoughtful young man. Like, what is your mindset? How long do you want to fight? What do you have to accomplish before you say, okay, that's enough? What is your vision for your career?
How you did decided about retirement?
For me,
someone helps you about retired. Maybe your trainer.
Well, I have like my pastor at my church. He's a former football player, American football. He retired after 6 years. He was a big help for me. 3 or 4 years before I made the decision, I would talk to him and say, how do you know when it's time? He would give me advice and say, you're just gonna know. And I'm like, man, that doesn't, like, what do you mean? He said, you're gonna wake up one day and decide I don't wanna do it anymore. And then obviously, you know, my wife, when I finally made the decision, I had a fight scheduled, a lot of money on the table, good situation. And I came home one day and I said,
no,
I don't want to do it anymore. And I had tears in my eyes because the fighter's not supposed to say that, not while he's active.
Mm-hmm.
And my body was just giving me issues and I didn't know if I could get through another 8-week training camp. And my wife looked at me and she said, I think the decision is already made. Mm-hmm. And me having the support of my wife and having the support of, you know, my pastor and just the close people, that helped me make the decision. And
yeah,
even
that's good. That's good.
Like just like your support system.
Yeah.
Coach, mother, father. But even after you retire, I'm learning now that that's when the real work starts. It's like a detox process where you got to kind of slowly get it out of your system. You got to redefine yourself to keep you busy and to keep you motivated. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. And I hope that I can be an example to younger guys that say, listen, give it all you have, but at a certain point, you got to cut it off because you want to have a life after boxing.
Good.
But I got one final question for you. I want to talk about the elephant in the room. I read an article somewhere where somebody said that you were the reason that I retired. They said, this is the young guy that made Andre Ward retire. I was like, oh my goodness.
I thought that.
Yeah.
But I know why you retired. I think because you was young.
9 years old, yeah. 9.
One day you think, I think it's enough for me. Maybe I will come back. Maybe no, but now I'm happy that I have yet.
That's it, man. It's 23 years.
Yeah.
And people, they see my age today and they say, oh, you're only 33. It's like, yeah, but you got to date back.
Yeah.
9 years old, you know, 23 years straight.
I think maybe in 1 year you feel I want to come back. I want to come back.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you this. It may be you.
Maybe.
Because I think that's what the fans are asking about. You know, they want whoever the top guy is for me to potentially come back. And I don't know. I don't have any plans on coming back, but the fire is always going to be there. And when you're active, you think, oh, I can retire. I won't miss it. You're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss it. So I do miss it. I'm happy I'm retired. I get to spend more time with my family, but you know, I'm a fighter and I'm gonna always be a fighter.
I understand you.
It's not gonna go anywhere, you know. I think it would have been a great fight though.
Yeah, I think too.
Well, some fascinating stuff there, Barry. Firstly, I've got to ask you, do you think Andre Ward will come back?
All signs are pointing to yes. I hope not. It's all money, and he'd still be good enough to beat maybe everyone. But, you know, if it's a stunt, I'm disappointed because he seems a guy with integrity. Listen, he wasted some of his career because his integrity was too much, I think.
Got caught up in the legal issues,
yeah.
didn't he? Yeah.
But, you know, I just think that, you know, having a little bit of a play that retired only to come back, he wasn't an exciting enough fighter to be able to go, wow, he's back. He was brilliant, but I don't think he was exciting enough for people to get, to be like ripping their paychecks out to pay for him to watch him fight because he's come back.
I think it depends who he's fighting. If someone emerges as like a king where you actually put him in the conversations, maybe he would have beaten Ward. Then if he comes back, it could be a thing.
But at the minute, it's just Kovalev, isn't it?
Unless Bivol comes through and proper
Yeah, but Bivol's not a big name yet, is he?
Yet.
I mean, he's a world champion. He's a big name, but he's not a name for where HBO or Showtime, and this which is all about in the States, are going to pay mega money to get, because he's going to want at least $3 million to come out of retirement.
Yeah,
if not
he's
more.
He's going to want the money, isn't he?
If not more, so they're going to go, hang on, maybe pay you that, so the other kid's going to want a couple of them. Are we going to get any pay-per-view enough to pay for this? I don't know, to be honest. He was never a big pay-per-view star anyway. They didn't do very well with the Kovalev fight, so I heard. So I don't see it. So, but listen, if he comes back, he beats everyone, I think, unless he's out of shape, which I don't think he is. And also, he's doing a great job what he's doing now.
He is, and
fantastic broadcast.
That Bivol thing was great. Just sat there, talking it through and talking about the challenges he faces in that next stage of being a boxer, in terms of not being a boxer anymore and trying to sort of fill the void. So Barry, what was that like for you?
It's horrible. It's horrible. It's the worst time of your life. Whether you're forced to, like I was, or whether you just realise time's up, which may be worse because then you've had to admit that you're not good enough anymore. Yeah, and it's hard because people calling your name, whether it's 500 people or 50,000, it's a buzz you can never replace. And that's why a lot of boxers, they turn to drink and drugs, and because they're out partying, they're trying to get that excitement back. And I think it's a struggle, and you have to realise that it's done. And you're bitter, because every boxer you speak to, whether he's been the most successful boxer you've ever met in your life or not, always could have done more. Like, my career should have been better than it was. But in reality, it was probably too good. Then if you're really honest about yourself, if this would have happened, if I wouldn't have had a problem with my brain scan, I would have had these 5 defences, I would have boxed Naz, and we would have had a war, it would have knocked me out, but I would have got fortune for it. And all these are in my head.
Yeah.
None of this would have happened in reality. I probably lost my first defence and gone home. But you never know, yeah, boxers are dreamers. You couldn't be a boxer if you weren't a dreamer, because you dream you're going to be to the top. So when you start, unless you win an Olympic medal or something, when you start from nothing, there to the very top, it's almost like a different world.
Yeah.
It's like a different universe. You're never going to get there, but you dream of being there. And then somewhere along the way, you start winning things and picking things up, and you get somebody, and then all of a sudden you turn around one day and you're right behind where you want to be. And then that dream becomes almost a reality. And then if you're lucky, with a bit of lucky break and the right management and being good enough, you get that chance to fulfill your dream, which is something that I tell some people the other day. I was saying, being able to chase your dream. All boxers feel bitter and disappointed they didn't earn the money. It's all about money for us at the end of the day. We're all bitter that we didn't earn the money that other sportsmen would have if they were at our level. But you look back, you go, I chased a dream through all my 20s. I just chased a dream.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Who can say that? So when I go back now, when I'm old, which is not far off obviously, and I go, yeah, I chased that dream. When I went for it. I proper went for it. I didn't get a job like everyone else did. I didn't do the proper thing like everyone else. Didn't get a job and a mortgage early. I just chased a dream to be what I wanted to do, and I got paid to do it. Oh, well,
there you go. So.
It's unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable.
Well, are you at peace with it now in terms of you fought on some huge bills? You were a world champion, but your career was kind of almost cut short and taken away from you.
It's difficult. You're frustrated because you don't. Yes, it's difficult, and I sort of am over it because I'm doing this job. But before I did this job, I was sort of made peace with it. It was always something, and it always will be in the back of my mind, which I wish I could have another go and make it a little bit better. And I think Andre Ward, what a career he had.
Oh yeah.
Joe Calzaghe, what a career he had. They all wish they could go back and do it a little bit different. Because Joe Calzaghe probably thinks he should have went to America. I'm sure we just would have took that risk 4 or 5 years earlier. Beat Roy. He probably wouldn't have beat Roy Jones, but beat Roy Jones when he was. I would have got more respect for that, and got Hopkins a bit earlier, and then it was like Winky Wright was around. He would have moved up, and there was all bigger fights for him, and more respect.
Yeah, I think a lot of fighters are going to be able to do that. Almost all the fighters. Yeah, everyone's going to look back. I mean, I thought of Roy Jones the other day, who had his last fight. I put that in inverted commas, and I crossed my fingers, and I hope it was his last fight. But maybe he boxed on for so long because he didn't make the money that he could have done. Like if he was fighting in this era and he had, all the Instagram, all those 6-second clips of the sort of stuff that he was doing, imagine the money he would have made.
He was a talent of all talents up there with him. He was exceptionally good. In his era, he dominated, and he was just crazy talented. But he earned enough money. He just wasted it. I don't know on what, whether he was ripped off or just squandered it on whatever he was into, but I don't have so much sympathy for people who earned a lot of money and then lost it, because you earned it, where most of us don't earn it. You know, like, and listen, I got the ex-boxers thing the other week in London. Ex-boxers in London. It was an award, Frank Warren Award. All the boxers there were in the 80s. If they would have been boxing 10 years later, they'd all have belts in their house, and they wouldn't earn more money, but maybe they would have. Some of them would have been world champions, maybe in a different era, and their lives would have been different. You know, it would have been. You know, listen, I took my world title fight at 3 weeks' notice because someone pulled out apparently, and it changed my life. Because I wouldn't be doing this job today if it wasn't for that.
Well, now
and
no
there's
matter
better boxers and probably better talkers than me.
I don't know about the latter.
I wouldn't give them a chance to say anything. That's the problem.
Well, Barry, so on the Ward thing, we've digressed a lot, but I enjoyed that little chat there on the Ward thing. Will he come back, yes or no, you think?
Yes.
Now, Barry, we need to discuss the news that broke early this week that Canelo Alvarez has failed a drugs test. He was found to have trace levels of clenbuterol in his system, levels consistent with meat contamination, which has apparently impacted dozens of athletes in Mexico over the last few years. Barry, what says you?
It's crazy, isn't it? What are you going to say? It's like, it's an epidemic in our sport, in sports in general, but in boxing, a lot of athletes seem to be taking performance-enhancing drugs. I'm not saying that Canelo did, but so everything points that way. But you know, I know they've had a problem with the meat. I know they inject the meat in Mexico and a few other countries to keep the animals
big
lean,
hedge cows in Mexico.
Yeah, so you know, maybe that's it. But you just think of an athlete of his stature, that happening would be, I don't know. It's what you say. You don't point the finger at anyone because they've come out early and they've got their arms on the problem quick, and they've come up with a statement rather than the whoever do the testing, VAD or whoever they are. No,
Golden Boy released.
Yeah, them coming out. They've been cleverly and released it quick because it's not a problem. And I hope it's not. It's people are showing videos of him and pictures of him how he looked like 18 months ago to now, and you see the size difference, and you go, and it makes it all very suspicious. But you can do that with any fighter.
Well, this clenbuterol, I don't think it's and look, I'm no drug expert, but I don't think it's a steroid. And my mate's got asthma, and he texts me saying, "What's the big deal about this? I take this," and he doesn't look like Canelo. I'll tell you that now. He's sort of in between. He's done well for himself. He used to be a bit portly, but now he's in shape.
It's because he's on that.
Which seems to have coincided with the clenbuterol. No, but he's had asthma all his life, and he takes this, and it helps with the breathing.
And it strips the fat, though, doesn't it? I think something like that. It helps. It helps get rid of the fat in your body, which obviously for boxers is the biggest problem. So if you're taking drugs to help you lose weight, but still keeping the muscle mass, then that's cheating. I'm not saying that's what Canelo's done. Time will tell, obviously. But if that's what's happened, if that's what that drug does, then that's cheating, and it's and massively unfairly cheating, because if you're doing it the old-fashioned way, with just hard work and dieting and let's be honest, dehydration, and he's doing it, and someone else is doing it using that drug, then come round 10 when you're both knackered in a war, he's got the energy because he haven't had to take away the muscle to make the weight, then it becomes dangerous, and that's where certain people say these drug cheats should be banned for life, and you can't disagree with that.
Well, here's the statement from Canelo as part of that Golden Boy press release that went out. "I am an athlete who respects the sport, and this surprises me and bothers me because it had never happened to me. I'll submit to all the requests that require me to clarify this embarrassing situation, and I trust that at the end the truth will prevail." So they've really come out on the offensive here. As you mentioned, they've got the release out before any VADA or anyone like that got it out. But when you've got a headline, people are just going to take the headline and it's going to say Canelo fails drug test, and you're not going to read into the contaminated meat, etc., etc. And that's what's led to the fierce criticism that he got across social media last night. I don't know if you saw any of it.
I've seen pictures on that of him, like I said earlier. Him, whenever it was. It could have been 10 years ago, I don't know, but they got him, and then now, and the size of him is massive, and he's all cut up. And even the way for the first fight, he looked extremely more cut than ever before. And it makes you because you're so paranoid. The boxers are paranoid. You're going, no, that's not right. Look at him. Because I tell you something now, and it might be because of the protein powders and there's more conditioners in the sport or whatever they do, but more boxers now are more cut than ever before. Literally ever before. And they ain't no stronger, they ain't no fitter or better. Certainly technically not better, just as good in some of them obviously, but they are more cut up, which means they're probably physically stronger than they would have been if they weren't doing it. If they are taking drugs, I'm not saying or unless it is all protein powder and eating the right way, because obviously them things have changed as well.
Yeah, I'm sure they've got better. Well, Billy Joe Saunders was very vocal, as you said. I don't know if you saw his, but I mean, no rush to repeat his posts, but a very watered down version would be: Canelo, you are bad, you are cheating, you have red hair. Golovkin, we should fight. That's my very watered down version of what Saunders put. Check out his Twitter if you want to have a quick laugh. But yeah, but by the sound of it, the Golovkin fight's all still going ahead. Canelo's going to submit to as many tests as they want to do on him. They're very much saying it's contaminated meat. It's something like that that's happened. But one thing I'll say is that there's not been a word from Golovkin himself. It seems every fighter and his dog is attacking Canelo. Golovkin has stayed silent throughout. What do you think of that?
I don't think he'll care. I think Golovkin has that. He's not arrogant, but he has that arrogance of a great fighter who thinks he could beat anyone anyway. So he won't be happy about it. And I bet you there'd be some sort of maybe financial penalty if it were to be true. But that's a big fight and it's big money, so they're not going to turn that down. No, they'll be getting paid more for this than did the first one. So no way is that going to. They're not going to jeopardise that. But if Canelo were to win, if this doesn't get resolved, or even if it does get resolved, there will be a question mark over Canelo now for the rest of his career. It will fade in time because he's a star and he's a good fighter anyway. But if he wins this fight and wins it, like gets a knockout or something like that, I'm not saying that this thing that he has in his system gives you that extra power or strength. I don't know nothing about it, but if that were to happen, that would be the first thing that would be pointed at.
It's always going to raise an eyebrow.
Well, more so in the next fight, in a fight where most people thought he lost, but it was closer than what maybe your memory serves you. But I don't think he could hurt Golovkin. There was somehow he gets a stoppage, which would be massive. Never going to happen really. But if he were, then you go, hang on a minute, something's not right, and then Golovkin would open his mouth.
Now, Barry, what are you doing on April 21st? Come on, hit me with it.
I don't know, maybe a barbecue or something then.
Forget about it, because I know what I'm doing. I'll be in Belfast for Carl Frampton versus Nonito Donaire, and even if I wasn't in Belfast, I'd be at home watching Frampton versus Donaire with Mrs. Sahni. Yeah, she'd be perched up watching it with me. The boys, Carl Frampton, Martin Murray, all the guys from the VIP gym, they are currently in a training camp in Tenerife ahead of their big fights. Now, Murray, of course, challenges Billy Joe Saunders on April the 14th at the O2 Arena. And my BoxNation bestie, and the man who left me bereft this week, Steve Lillis, grabbed a quick word with Carl Frampton before the guys left for Spain.
Carl, read the other day that best day you ever had in the gym. Was that because you were winning a sing-off, or is it because how happy you are in this gym?
Yeah, a bit of both, I think. It's good fun in here. The camaraderie is brilliant. Everyone's kind of bouncing off each other. Some very good fighters here. A lot of us getting ready for big fights, and it's just good fun. We train hard and we do our things, and we do what we have to. But you have to have fun while you're doing it. And I look forward to getting to the gym every day. But the other week, Tommy Coyle had a DJ and stuff in the corner, just good crack.
It's giving you a new lease of life, this gym, isn't it?
It genuinely has, and I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying it for the cameras or the media. I feel like I'm in a better place and I feel much happier. Probably the happiest I've ever felt as a boxer. My whole career, I'm talking about from the amateurs when I was 7 years old and stuff, and my ma was pushing me out the door to make sure I was going training, because a lot of times I didn't want to. But right now, I'm the happiest I've been in boxing.
With you being here at 31 years of age, and should we say, okay, in the latter stages of your career, if that's fair, do you have to you know, is there certain things you have to take easier now in training?
There are a few things. Obviously, we've looked at a lot of stuff. I used to do sometimes 220 rounds of sparring per camp, which was incredible, really, and I think too much. So obviously that's something that's been talked about a lot, about me reducing the rounds. So we'll reduce that by half probably, but I still think we'll look at quality more than quantity. We've got some good American sparring coming in.
And I understand you've changed your lifestyle a bit. You've given up drink until the end of your career.
I said that, didn't I? Look, it was something was made out of that. There was more than what it was. I'm not a big drinker anyway. We'll see what happens.
If you're beating on Ito Donaire and stop him, you're entitled to a few, I think.
Of course. Pint of heart, why not?
So looking forward to the Nito fight. You thinking more and more about the fight now, though we're still some way out?
No, do you know what? I'm just not really. I feel how I normally feel this far out from any fight. Looking forward. I love fight week. I love getting involved and getting back to Belfast and the whole build up. So I love that. But at this point in time, I'm just focused on my own training, and I'm going through the tactics that we think are going to work on the night. And
your trainer Jamie Moore, he's taking you to Tenerife for a couple of weeks, which breaks up the camp, but it also means a lot of karaoke singing, I should think.
Why not? Well, we'll have to find a good karaoke bar so I can take over. But now we're going there to break things up. Warm weather training. There's altitude as well in the mountains. So yeah, we've made a few different approaches this camp. I'm down at the Manchester Institute Health and Performance. I've teamed up with Man City's head strength and conditioning coach. I have a nutritionist on board now, a guy called Steve McGregor who is overseeing everything as well. So a few new approaches here, and I feel it's going to benefit me.
Is it a lot easier with Jamie this time around, the second camp, obviously getting to know each other from both sides and also getting you to live in another area 5 days a week?
Look, I felt like we clicked pretty well, me and Jamie, but obviously we know each other more now than we did then. So no, it's good. It's good. I'm enjoying life. I'm enjoying the boys. I'm enjoying training with Jamie and Nigel, and yeah, I'm looking forward to some big performances.
And has Jamie given you a little slap round the ear at all? Because you've come here and suddenly, since you've come here, you've sparked a mass income of fighters.
He's busy, you know. I was speaking to Tommy Coyle about it. At one point, it was Tommy and Jamie and Nigel as well, which would be lonely for anyone, but you look around now, it's bunged now, the gym, and it's good to see. I think we're all happy. The fighters are all happy that we're all training alongside each other, and I think Jamie's happy that he's helping a lot of fighters and with their careers.
Barry, we keep hearing these words. I'm hearing it so much these days. A happy fighter is a dangerous fighter. Carl Frampton says he's never been happier in his whole life. Talk to me.
It's weird because before they used to go keep a fighter mean.
Yeah. Mr. T didn't look happy in Rocky 3, I'll say that. And he was quite good, wasn't he?
You keep messing up, don't you? You keep saying you do so well. Then you talk about fictional characters, and people will know you don't know they're not real fighters. You know they know that, and I got to educate you now. And listen, listeners, I'm sorry about Dev. He doesn't know what he's on about.
Mr. T was great, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. He was fantastic. Well done.
Lost the rematch. Yeah. Carry on.
And yes, it is. I think when you're a new environment. I said this the other week on the Bunso that it's sometimes not. I'm not saying that Jamie Moore is a better trainer than Shane McGuigan. We don't know. I don't know that. Time will tell. And then trainers are only good as their boxers. I believe that, but they can have a great input. But sometimes a different voice telling you exactly the same thing is what you need. It's a different. It's put across. It's not sometimes not what you say. It's how you say it. People say that in every form of life, and then sometimes you need a different voice telling you, oh, I didn't realise it was that way. No, you were told that all the time. So, and a different environment, and it seems more of a fun environment at work. It's obviously they're working, but around quality fighters, where probably he was not the only quality fighter in their camp before, but he stood head and shoulders above most of them for a long time. You know, being in another camp with other fighters who like Murray, who's boxed for world titles 4 or 5 times, and other good fighters like that, it helps you. I think it makes you more enjoyable, and a team effort. When you're an amateur, it's the best time of your life, because even though it's an individual sport, you box as a team. You go away together. Club shows, when you're professional, we can be training together, but you're fighting in March. I'm not fighting until May, so the intensity of our training is different. So you help each other out, but it's not the same.
Did you have that sort of vibe in your gym?
No, I trained on my own all my career.
Okay.
Yeah, I trained with a couple of people now and again, but they weren't very good. You know, early in my career, a couple of other good fighters like Darren Griffiths. Now and again would train. He was a really good fighter, super middleweight back in the early mid 90s. But really, I trained on my own. And even when I sort of left my first training, I remember Ronnie Rush used to train Steve Robinson.
Yeah.
Even most of that career, I had some good fighters around me when I won the world title. But then after that, I didn't really train on my own again. And I regret that now. But it was just
really?
it's the way it is. So you know, I still trained hard as I could. But other people around you give that extra 10%, and you enjoy it. You look forward to going to the gym. And I think now for Carl, he's got the enjoyment back, which given that zest, that the step, in a little bounce in his step, and you want to see that in his performance. Because the only other thing I would say, and Jamie Moore's one of the loveliest guys you ever meet. I've only met him a couple of times. He's a lovely guy, and he looks like a good trainer. And he must be got all these fighters around him now, so he must be a good trainer. And fighters love and respect him. It wasn't a great performance again with Frampton the last fight. It wasn't terrible, but he needed better. Yeah. So the pressure's on with Jamie Moore a little bit because he will get the blame. If Frampton gets beat by Donaire, because Donaire's a fantastic fighter, but if he looks terrible or gets battered by Donaire, which I can't see happening to be honest, but if that were to happen, then Jamie Moore will get the blame.
Fair point. One of the things that you mentioned there was he's given up drinking. Did you ever drink in the build-up to a fight? I mean, it sounds like an obvious no, doesn't it?
Well, then you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how many boxers used to smoke.
Right.
I won't call any names. Back in the day, like you'd see them puffing away. I don't mean in the 60s and 50s, but everyone. I mean in the 90s.
Right.
And then even in the 2000s, how many boxers would smoke? It was crazy. It'd freak you out. It really would. But I haven't drunk since I was 17.
Oh right. Okay.
So no. Unless you're Steve Bunce, who wrote an article which I didn't see until recently. When I got my license back after all that brain scan stuff, it was a story about from world champion to dole Q and all the rest of it, and said I turned to drink. Quoted me saying I turned to drink.
Really?
I never said it. I didn't see that article. I wouldn't have cared anyway, because I'm not really worried about stuff like that. But yeah, I never drunk. But I don't think he has a need to listen unless you have a drink problem. I think all those fighters all those fighters live like Hatton did, and that doesn't work anymore for fighters.
And another thing that's you mentioned they're having such a fun time, that camp, and they're buzzing off each other. They do a lot of karaoke. Do you do barioke?
Yeah. Honestly,
come on, give me something.
I forget how irritating you are.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't know what
I thought of it last
I don't
night.
sing. No, I don't sing.
You don't sing at all?
Though I was in Soul Morgan Choir when I was a kid.
Were you really?
True story.
Tell me your favourite song. Drop me some bars.
I don't sing.
Give me something.
So drop some bars. You put something. You sent a text to me the other day. Let me read it out to people.
What was the text?
Sent them a text to me the other day.
Oh God!
I literally I was shadowboxing.
You sure it was me?
Wax lyrical about.
Yeah.
Wax lyrical about. What are you talking about?
I was
Do you know how old I am? Like, it's not my generation. It's not my generation of stuff.
I don't think wax lyrical is a particularly modern
so bad
phrase.
Anthony Yard, 2 fights ago, went into the ring with some guy rapping.
Yes, he did.
I thought he was a children's TV presenter. I swear to God, I did. Because I watched kids' TV. Because I got 2 little nippers. I watched kids' TV. I said, isn't he off like Blue Peter or CBBBs or something? I don't know about it. He's a rapper.
Yeah, Lethal Bizzle. One of the best.
He might be, but to me, I was going to go, can I picture, show the kids? But they wasn't the same. Yeah, so no, I don't wax lyrical, as you put earlier on the text, and I certainly don't barioke. That's the thing, yeah.
It's no bars and no barioke.
No bars, yeah, no bars.
From Barry Jones. Okay.
Can I just say, no.
No, give me something. What else you got?
Don't say strap season either.
You don't like strap season?
I don't like all
They're all using that these days, though.
I can't stand them. It is the way it is, but I hate all that crap.
Because it's like they gesture around the waist as well.
Yeah. Well, every season's a strap season. I don't know what you're on about.
Now, we speak about or hear from 20-year-old heavyweight sensation Dynamite Daniel Dubois most weeks on this podcast. He's 7-0 with 7 knockouts and is turning heads and indeed rocking heads in the heavyweight division. He is a young man who doesn't give an awful lot away in interviews. So for the first time on the show, we hear from his trainer, Martin Bowers, and try and find out a little more about the enigmatic Daniel Dubois.
Martin, you've been training Daniel for his professional journey so far. 1 year as a professional, how would you assess the first 12 months?
Well, I think he's made great progresses. I think the matches have been right for him, and I think it's been taken at a nice pace. We've been out on quite a few outings, which we've been very lucky. And like I say, I think the matchmaking's been perfect. And if it continues like that, and we're patient with him and give him a chance to grow into the professional that he can be, I think I think we'll have a good journey. Yeah.
What's he like as a person? Because he never gives much away. He'd be almost if he'll be a great poker player, because you never see you can never judge what he's thinking. He doesn't say a lot. What sort of person is he to you?
Actually, he's quite open around the rest of the team, and he's a pleasure to have in the gym. But you don't get a lot out of Daniel. He does his work. He's happy to do his work, and he's got one goal. He wants to be a fighter. He don't want to be anything else.
Does he ever talk about anything else apart from boxing when you're having a chat?
Yeah, obviously we talk about family, friends, everything that a 20-year-old would talk about. He talks about, but in his own gentle way. Believe it or not, he's quite gentle in the gym, and he's got a nice, calm personality. Obviously, fight night, he changes. He's different. That's his job. But in general, he's just a nice boy.
You're quite a calm person, aren't you, with your fighters? It comes across that way. You might tell me different.
I think I'm calm. But he's got his own personality. He hasn't got my personality, which is fortunate. I mean, like us all, we all have our moments, and I think if you shout or if you moan when it's needed, or you use the right criticism when it's needed, it's okay. But if you do it all the time, you just break someone's heart anyway, don't you? We don't want to do that, do we?
As a trainer, do you worry that there's not fighters at the moment that are giving him rounds that he might possibly need?
No, I think he's still in the early stages, and I think he'll get the rounds as he goes along. I think it's perfect. I think he's doing exactly what he should do at this stage. I mean, the fights are getting progressively harder, and that will show as it goes along. Obviously, as it goes along, we will have one night when we have a stinker. We'll have a night when we have a great night, and that's all part of the journey. But if people accept that along the route, I don't see a problem. But I mean, I wouldn't, just let it open, just let it unfold, and I think we'll enjoy the ride.
You're obviously, from talking to you, you're in no hurry. Do you wince a bit when people say, well, he should be fighting for the world title next year and talk like that, which you do see?
No, because I think that happens in any sport, whatever it is. If someone's showing a bit of potential, you start running before they can walk. But that's for the public to talk about, and boxing fans, and that's what makes boxing so interesting. We talk if this one fought this one, and it's just part of the game. But I think Frank's long enough in the tooth to take his time, do the right job with Daniel. I think he's got good people around him, not just myself. I didn't mean it like that at all. I mean, we've got a nice crowd in the gym. We've got good trainers. Everyone's watching him, making sure his progress, progresses at the right speed, not too fast. I think he's all right.
Well, that was Martin Bowers on his young heavyweight charge, Daniel Dubois. Dubois returns on April the 14th at the O2 Arena. Also on that show is Terry Flanagan against Maurice Hooker for the vacant WBO World Super Lightweight title. And of course, Billy Joe Saunders against Martin Murray. Anthony Yard's on that show, Ahara Davis, and there's more and more fights being added to that show almost all the time. With regards to Flanagan, Steve Lillis caught up with the trainer of Terry Flanagan, Steve Maylett, and asked him what he thinks of Maurice Hooker.
I see it as early on. I think it'll be difficult because he's ranger, he's tall, and he'll go on his back foot and try and counter. That's what we think he's going to do. But I think when Terry starts establishing himself and putting his own boxing together on him, that's when he'll struggle with it. Off the fights what I've watched, almost every round's competitive. And I don't think he ever wins a round really clear, so like I say, he just boxes at whatever anybody else is doing and sort of just tries to go with the flow. But if he tries that with Terry's boxing will be too much for him.
Have you seen one or two things that give you a bit of optimism?
Just he's not beat anybody, you know what I mean? He's not beat anybody with a name, and we would have been happy to fight Perez years ago, and I think Terry would have probably stopped Perez, and it was a close fight, could have gone either way, but I think if Terry was in there with any of the two of them, he'd have got to him.
So Barry, have you seen enough of Maurice Hooker to kind of make your assessment on him?
I think it's a winnable fight for Terry. I do. I think moving up in weight should suit Terry. He was a big lightweight. He'll be a big super lightweight or light welterweight. Hooker, I think you've got to get on him early though. That's my only worry with Terry, is he's very workmanlike in his performances, which is fantastic. Real good work ethic, but sometimes he'll go through the gears at an even pace. And I think he's had some good stoppages. I know when he won the title, but I think with Hooker you got to get him early because he's awkward, big and awkward. Makes plenty of mistakes, but something like that, the awkward fighters, they get into a rhythm, and it's very hard to get him out of it. It really is. So I think if he jumps him in early, I think he wins. And he wins quite conclusively.
We jumped on Magdaleno early. That was probably his last great Terry Flanagan performance.
And uncharacteristic as well, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, his performances since that, they're almost a bit flat. And there's a lot of this talk that was because he was cutting to make weight. And now we're going to see the real Flanagan.
Well, it might be a bit of that, I'm sure it is. But I think also, I think that's just his style. He's business-like. He's not, no flash, no smoke and mirrors with Terry. In everything, his personality is the same, isn't it? He's very straight to the point and not overly charismatic, let's be honest. But he's a lovely fella and he's honest, and you cheer for him because you know he's a genuine guy, and he boxes like a genuine guy, just does his work.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you make of Maurice Hooker? He's currently training with Terence Crawford. Iron sharpens iron, eh? All of that.
Another buzz. Is that like another buzz thing? They call them buzzwords.
I've seen that hashtag as well. Like, I think I've seen Lawrence Okoli use it. Like, he'll post a picture of him and someone and put iron sharpens iron.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations, Mr. Okoli.
It's a good term, but Crawford, Hooker. He's not going to deter. It's not going to.
It's fantastic. Listen, fighters. Being surrounded by quality fighters makes you better.
Yeah.
More than the trainers. Joe Calzaghe, so you got Nathan Cleverly and Gavin Reese.
Yeah.
Listen, Enzo Calzaghe was a good trainer, but being around Joe was probably more so than that. That's what happens. That's why amateur clubs get success. So I think being around Terence Crawford, who's one of the best in the world pound for pound, will only help Hooker. Though they do have totally different styles, so I can't see how he can emulate him. But just being around him, watching how they train, their mental focus, I think that will help him. And he'll need to be at his best. Away from home, his biggest test against a former world champion Terry Flanagan, he's going to have to produce the fight of his life.
Did you hear his interview where he just kept saying he was going to punch Flanagan in the mouth?
That's a good tactic, though.
It's good.
To be honest, someone said to me when in a workman club in the middle of Wales once, in the middle of South Wales, I was warming up in a toilet because what you do as an amateur,
as in hitting pads or just letting loose?
No, just on my own, like just shadow boxing, getting loosened up and trying to find a little area where no one was around. And he came in and he went, "Hit him in the first round, son." And to be honest, you couldn't say he was wrong, could you? Do you know what I mean? I made him right.
It's all good
and I did.
advice.
And
Did
so,
you hit him in the first round?
If Hooker punches him in the face, then he's going the right way about it.
He'd have done exactly what he said he was going to do. Now, Barry, usually right about this time, I will fully unleash Steve Lillis on our listeners, and he breaks off into a rant, or he waxes lyrical, perhaps, and lavishes praise on someone. So, Barry, what have you got? You got something to get off your chest? Anything you want to discuss?
I think I've done it. I've literally just moaned about everything. I think I've moaned things I've moaned about already. I think they're genuine points, though. I do think it's a fantastic sport, but things got to be regulated properly, and fighters got to be more aware of what's going on around them, I think. But I do think that this whole thing about fighters, I said that they have it easier in a lot of respects than fighters in past days. But the pressure, the outside pressure with social media and the internet and everyone being more connected, you can't chuck a fighter in now with a so-called Mexican road sweeper, because everyone will check his record, where before they could say this fighter's he's a good fighter, he's only lost 5 fights.
Yeah.
But now they'll go, he's won 20 fights, but 10 of them he's been against the same guy. who's lost 10 of his fights against him.
It's box rec era.
It's harder for them. The criticism that they have to put up with, it's a lot of pressure on, especially young athletes, I think, and to cope with that, added with just worrying about fighting as well. And sometimes I wish people would just give these kids a break. Once they get to the very top, then go for it. They're earning the big money and they're successful, and you can just rain all the rubbish at them and throw stones at them. I don't care. But when they're on the way up, I wish people would just allow them a little bit of leeway to develop and see if they do get there, because they're only trying to be the best they can be.
Sure. And what you said before, there's a lot of pressure on fighters to tick a few boxes.
Yeah,
you've got to be on Twitter. You have to.
But fighters have to remember, it's all great, but if you can't fight, it doesn't matter. And humility is something that you have to have. And there's some fights out there. I've been a victim of one of them, and the Prince Patel, and good luck to the kid. I don't know. He was just trying to make a name for himself.
Won another belt the other night. I think it was the Baltic.
Yeah, who cares about that? But and O'Hara Davis, he's trying to make a name for himself. And he can fight, and I'm sure Patel can fight. But when you fall, you make this big name. But when you fall and get beat, the criticism you get and the ridicule you get, is it worth it? I don't care if I'm hated, but we all care what people think. There's very few people who don't care. So I think, give them a little. They need to realise to play the game a little bit. Try and sell yourself, but be a little bit sensible. You're not there yet. Wait till you're there. Then if you want to be the real braggart, then go for it. When you're there or thereabouts. At the beginning, sell yourself, but be a little bit realistic. And for the people, the fans, and the people who like to have a dig, just to give them a little bit of space to see how they develop.
I think on the Prince Patel side, I remember that he used to tweet a lot about wrestling, and in wrestling there are good guys and there are bad guys, and he clearly had a kind of affinity with being a bad guy, and I think he got lost in that role, and that clearly what happened.
I got no time for the kid.
Yeah,
I never will. I'm not going to beat him on the bush about it, but I don't listen. I tweeted out when he was. I'm not on Twitter anymore now because it's just terrible. But when he was he got so much stick after that day. But first of all, I was half happy because he had to go at me for no reason at all. Yeah. And I wanted to get up and strangle him. Let's be honest, but you can't do that because it's assault, isn't it? But I felt sorry for him because the abuse he got after. I said, listen, he's just a young kid, made a mistake. And they're the body of his work. Judge him on the body of his work, pretty much. And he hasn't really done much work since. Let's be fair. But I don't wish the kid any harm. But I don't care if he doesn't make a success of himself. I got no interest in the kid. But what I mean is him and O'Hara Davis are the biggest points that I can make fighters who've gone and used Twitter to project their careers, and they come back a bit in the backside.
Well, O'Hara Davis, I think, is reformed now. He obviously is on our April 14th show at the O2 Arena.
He can fight.
Yeah, he can fight, and that's exactly it. But I think Prince Patel there is a great example of the pressures on young fighters to try to stand out when they turn pro. Otherwise, you're just another guy. And he didn't have a particularly good knockout rate either. I can't imagine he was really turning heads if he wasn't opening his mouth. So that's an example of where it could go wrong.
But ultimately, if you're not, where is he now? A couple of years later. That's what I'm trying to say. Where if he wouldn't have done all that stuff, or if he would have toned it down a bit, or picked his battles, then he would be further on in his career. Then he could start doing all the stuff.
Earn the right to talk.
But get something first, win something, or we got close to winning something, and then call people out. I man Anti-Ad said, I got no rivals yet, because I'm just doing my career, just starting my career. Now he's starting to get this thing with bully only going on because they're at that level. But to begin, and they go, I got no rivals, so I just worry about what I can do.
Yeah,
I'm just starting out.
You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe you're the best in the world.
Of course you have. You got to be realistic about it, but you got to believe that one day I will be the best. Otherwise, what's the point?
What's the point? Exactly. Good points there, Barry Jones. Now, Friday Night Boxing is back on BoxNation this week. It comes in the super lightweight 140 pounds division when the upcoming American Regis Prograis takes on former unified world champion Julius Indongo. Indongo is a late replacement for Victor Postal. The New Orleans-based Prograis is one of the fighters being pushed by American promoter Lou DiBella, and earlier in the week Prograis released a short promo film which was like an open letter to the world.
Dear world, every day I wake up with you on my mind. I need you to know my name. I fought through blood, sweat, and pain to become one of the greats. One of your greats. How will you remember me? Well, that story is being written. As a kid from New Orleans, Louisiana, things weren't easy for me. Rough is all I know. It's crazy how a city that is so lively and beautiful could have such a dark side. But the dark side made me. The struggle helped build my character, made me mentally strong. The streets of New Orleans gave me a tough edge that can't be matched by anyone in the world. With every step I take towards the ring, I become more dangerous, more focused. When I step into the ropes, I bring my city with me. That's when something deep within me takes complete control of my mind and my body. I become a savage. A beast out for blood. I'm out to dominate. I become the Rougarou. I'm writing you this letter to introduce myself to you, world. It's my time. A world title within reach. Let me be your champion. My promise to you is to work non-stop every single day. Outside the ring, I'll be the positive role model that our youth needs. And inside the ring, I'll be your warrior. You are more than fans. You are now Team Regis. Thank you in advance for riding with me. Sincerely, Regis Prograde.
Barry, Prograis versus Indongo. Good fight?
Better fight.
Better than the Postal fight?
Yeah, and an easier fight for Progress. I think he's a fast hands, lovely footwork. You know, he's good boxer, and Dongo can punch. Might be a little bit made for him, you know, because he's in straight lines in Dongo. I think, and I think Progress. No, it's a bit again. It's a step up for him. That little unknown.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
But Postal's a tall, awkward guy who can punch as well, and that would have been a harder fight and probably a more touchy fight, no more tactical, where they wouldn't really commit too much until later on in the fight. But I think with Ndongo, he'll have to try and knock him out, obviously. And I think Progress will let his punches go in combinations, because I think he'll be allowed to throw those fast punches and spin, pivot on the front foot and go again. I think he'll be allowed that, because I think Ndongo's pretty straightforward.
So he's 20-0 with 17 knockouts. Barry Jones, have you been impressed with the progress of Prograis?
I have, and he's 20-0. You know, so that's sort of perfect sort of time. It's it's not dragging on too long to 30. You know, it's it's like 20-0. It's pretty much where they're at. So I think he's ready. But I like him. I think he obviously can punch, but I focus more on his boxing abilities. And I think if he doesn't take any silly risks, I think you'd have too much for Ndongo. So
this is for the WBC silver title, and all those well, they're all kind of up for grabs now since Crawford vacated and he moved up. Like Flanagan's fighting for one of the titles, and Mikey Garcia is fighting Lipinets. I think Lipinets is the champion for the IBF, and then there's a sort of a mad scramble. Who do you think will get to the top of this and emerge as the guy at 140 pounds? We're missing one at the moment.
Yeah, we are, but you tend to think Garcia is the biggest.
He's going about all the weights, isn't he? I heard him saying he wants to fight Errol Spence the other day.
You want to be careful, because he's only about my height, isn't he? Yeah. And he's not massively thick set.
Well, his heart is clearly very, very thick.
And his punching power, and he's got fast hands, he's good skills as well, Garcia, and he ticks every box. And so they are about the fight with Linares, and that looks like maybe they're gonna move different weights now, but you'd fancy him against Linares.
Yeah,
most definitely you would. I think, and Lomachenko as well. I think size-wise, he would be maybe the only one to beat Lomachenko around them sort of weights if he would stay down at lightweight. Could be massive. I think he'd be big for, even though he's moved from featherweight. I think he's just naturally bigger than Lomachenko. But yeah, I think at light welterweight, Teddy Flanagan's hopefully gonna have an argument in that. But yeah, it's all of a sudden it's opened up again, as you said, and that's nice, because I think everyone was just waiting for Crawford to disappear, and now he's moved up. Everyone's turned up all of a sudden, and there's nothing wrong with that. Listen, you all want to be a world champion and fight the best, but sometimes you got to know when to wait your turn.
Pick your moments. There was a nice moment though when Crawford did beat Ndongo and he had all 4 belts, and the picture of WBC Crawford, WBO Crawford, IBF Crawford, WBA Crawford. I think there might have been a regular champion still. I don't know, probably an interim. But it was nice seeing Crawford across that.
I worry about this WBA. I've said it before. I wonder if they'll correct themselves.
Have I started you off?
You have, yeah. I've stopped myself there. I realised, then I have a rant. Just turned up to have a moan. It's fantastic.
Turned up to have a moan, but yeah.
But it's a good. Progress is a good fighter, and I think he wins it. It makes it more exciting for others around him. I think it's nice to have a new injection of younger faces. Carl's not young, but new faces, if you like, in that super lightweight division.
Well, that's going to be live from 3 AM this Friday night / Saturday morning. It's one we are looking forward to, and let's also bear in mind this Prograis fella could be a potential future opponent for the likes of Terry Flanagan, Jack Cattrall, Horror Davis. So keep an eye on this guy. He's being pushed over in America. Now we are a 24/7 boxing channel, and here's some of the stuff that we've got coming up. So Thursday at 4:30 we've got a rerun of Spence versus Peterson. That's Errol Spence defeating Lamont Peterson. Barry, one line about how good Errol Spence is, or what you remember from that fight.
He's just sexy, isn't he?
Yeah.
He is, isn't he?
I didn't think he was into all that sort of...
No, but you got me into all these buzzwords now.
Yeah.
He's just sex. Boxing sex.
Errol Spence is boxing sex, and that's why you should be tuning in Thursday 4:30 on BoxNation. Thursday 10 o'clock. Oh my God, you're speaking about boxing sex. How about this? A fight to remember: Bradley versus Provodnikov.
Can't remember that.
Oh, you don't remember that?
Yeah, good fight, yeah, fantastic. But listen, Bradley, for such a good fighter, he was so vulnerable in many ways. That made him a more exciting fighter because he was talent, fast hands, fast feet, all the things that I love. But he'd get tagged.
Yeah. Remember Kendall Holt knocking him down,
Yeah,
and he
exactly,
seemed to knock him out and then wake up as his head hit.
Yeah, well, yes, he's also fighting. He's knocked out, wake up at the same time, and carry on fighting. Fantastic.
Well, that's a terrific fight, and that's going to be Thursday at 10 o'clock. Now, Friday at 7 o'clock, we've got Bunce's Boxing Hour.
Yay.
Yeah, we know all about that. My man Barry is right here. You'll be on the show, won't you, on the sofa? Yeah.
I hope so, mate. After this show, who knows? I'm going to have a job.
I'd imagine it's going to be heavily edited, Barry, to ensure that you are kept in employment. So don't worry about that. And there'll be clips from the off-TV York Hall show from the other night. So that was on a Friday, the 2nd of March. And it had the likes of Sanjeev Sahota, Danny Carr. You were there, weren't you?
Sanjay Sahota and Kane Baker.
Yeah.
Give us a classic.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic fight. It really was. Really good fight. Close. Could have gone either way. Could have gone either way. This spoiler, but Sahota won the fight.
Spoiler alert.
That's all right. It's already happened, hasn't it? But he won the fight, and he won that challenge belt or whatever it is. But it was a real good test for him.
Yeah,
But it was a close fight, and to be honest, maybe in another venue he might not have got it his way. It was that sort of fight.
Look, he's doing his thing, and he's 11-0 now. I think Sanjeev Sahota, and he's top of the bill.
And he beat a good kid. He beat a good kid the other night.
He's got a lot of fans.
He walked through. He got that real toughness on him. He walked through some really good shots to make sure the kid put pressure on his kid.
He's tough. There's no doubt about that, and he's getting quite a following within the Asian community. They love Triple S. So yeah, that'll be Friday at 7 o'clock. We'll have clips from the York Hall show. Friday night, as we mentioned, at 3 AM, it's Prograis versus Indongo. But keep an eye on our social medias, because on our social media pages, as we do announce new fights for the BoxNation schedule all the time. If you want to subscribe to the channel, go to BoxNation.com. It's a bit like Netflix in that you can cancel whenever you like, but of course we would recommend that you don't. Now Barry, before I let you go, I'm going to ask you for some advice. Every week, I've been trying to get American referee Steve Willis on the show. Are you familiar with him?
Crazy Eyes.
The one who does all the faces and all of that.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
So I've messaged him on Facebook, on LinkedIn. I've poked him on Facebook. I've tried adding friends. I've seen me and Mickey Van have like 15 mutual friends. He's friends with Mickey Van. Mickey Van hasn't accepted my friend request. So, I mean, what am I supposed to do? If you were me, what would you do in this situation, Barry Jones?
You got to think, right, so who would he know who you know?
Yeah.
And ask them.
Yeah. Well, I saw that we've got like 2 mutual friends. I can't remember who one of them is.
You don't have 2 friends, but go on, this just for the argument's sake, yeah, go on, you got 2 friends.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're not friends, like, you wouldn't know me, but like Harold Lederman, for some reason, is a friend of mine on Facebook.
Yeah, never friends. I got 5,000 friends on Facebook. I don't know anyone. I have no real friends, like by design, by the way, that is.
That changes today, Barry, because I think we've got on really well.
Oh, you haven't got a clue, son. You haven't got a clue when you're... No, but do you think, who does he know?
Yeah.
Who might he know of? Who works with you, maybe. So you think about, like a Bunce, Gareth Davis goes to America quite a lot.
Yeah.
People like that.
See if I can,
Yeah, you got to get onto them. See, you got a network. Okay. Network is called. I never do it myself, but apparently it's a really good thing.
Well, I'll try that. Now, Gareth Davis and Steve Bunce himself is quite a shout. Maybe I'm preoccupied in this digital world of poking and sending messages that I just thought arrogantly I thought in my youth that I could just get hold of him like that. I live in this digital age, but clearly it's not working.
No. And what's his background? Do you know?
He does a bit of stand-up comedy.
Does he?
Yeah. That's another thing that I didn't mention it. I commented on one of his YouTube videos saying, "Do you want to come on the podcast?" Because he's got like his own YouTube channel. So yeah, check that out. Anyway,
I will not, but that's really interesting.
The comedy's not to my taste, to be honest. But you know, he's doing his thing out there.
Is it funny?
Probably is to some people. It's a bit racial. Is it funny?
Yeah.
Okay, well, whether you love us or hate us, but mainly if you love us, please leave us a review on iTunes. Remember to tweet us any comments at BoxNation TV, at SahniDev, and you know you can try and get hold of Barry if you want. And remember to subscribe to the best boxing channel in the world, 24/7 boxing at BoxNation.com. Thanks for listening.